now at 5:30 on Newswatch.
A new group has been formed in response to the proposal to close a local elementary school.
The phone app is causing concerns for the Athens County Sheriff.
And in sports, Ohio men's basketball will look to continue its win streak tonight as the Bobcats travel to Toledo.
Broadcasting live from WOUB TV in Athens. This is Newswatch.
One man is dead after a morning fire in Benton County. Good evening, everyone. I'm Taylor Mirfendereski.
And I'm Andrew Fowler. The MacArthur Fire Department responded to the fire around 9:30 this morning. The Ohio Fire Marshal continues to investigate the cause of the fire. As you can see, the home is considered a total loss. There is no evidence of smoke alarms. The Fire Marshal's office is working with the Benton County Sheriff's Office and the Montgomery Coroner to identify the victim. And investigators looking into a string of arsons they say are connected in Portsmouth. Portsmouth Fire Department Captain Chris Lowry says there have been fires in 3 vacant homes within a couple of blocks. 2 homes were set on fire back on January 17th, and crews were called to another fire Friday morning. The Ohio Fire Marshal's office is working on some leads. Also, in Lawrence County, a man is in the hospital after a fire at his Chesapeake home last night. A state fire marshal spokesman says the fire started in the kitchen. The fire was discovered by an off-duty EMS employee who was driving by. She helped rescue the man. The cause of the fire remains under investigation.
A new group has been formed in a response to a proposal to close Chancey Elementary School. It's called Save Our Schools, and they're committed to keeping all of the school buildings in the Athens County School District despite an estimated $12 million shortfall expected for the district by 2016. Local parent and co-chair Mark McCutcheon says speaking up about the polls could help keep schools open.
Well, we really have 2 goals from the Save Our Schools campaign. It is to initiate a school levy, to put that on the November ballot, so people have the choice as to whether they want to keep the good schools they have or have them start declining. That's up to them. Okay, we're just trying to raise the issues and start a debate in the community, because it seems like it was just getting rubber stamped that there are definitely going to be cuts and there's nothing we can do about it. So we just want to raise the awareness of everybody of that issue. And the second thing we would like to do is get parent involvement.
Closing Chancey Elementary School and shifting students to the Plains Elementary School is estimated to save the district $1 million annually. Save Our Schools will have a public meeting on Monday at 6 p.m. at the Plains Public Library to discuss its plans. And Athens citizens spoke out on several issues at last night's town hall meeting. One of them was fracking. Graylin Roos is live at the Athens water treatment plant with more on the story.
That's right, Taylor. Residents spoke out last night at the community center about their views on hydraulic fracturing in southeast Ohio. Most were against the procedure, citing concerns that the procedure could affect public health. Others were concerned about the environmental damage that the practice might bring to the community. One resident urged her fellow citizens to get their water tested, saying that substances could be tested before and after the controversial drilling procedure. Athens resident Heather Cantino urged her fellow citizens to speak out against fracking.
I think citizens need to continue to speak out and to find creative ways to stand up to the industry and to our state government that is encouraging this destructive industry and has laws that will not protect our air, our water, our land value, our public health, our environment.
And fracking wasn't the only issue on the table last night. Residents also discussed the closing of local Chancey Elementary School. Reporting live for WOUB News, I'm Graylin Roos.
Thanks, Graylin. Ohio Attorney General Mike DeWine is seeking tougher environmental sanctions on polluters in the oil and gas industry. He's proposed that civil penalties be raised from a maximum of $20,000 for the duration of the violation to $10,000 a day. This would bring fines in line with states such as Pennsylvania, Colorado, and Texas. DeWine also wants full disclosure of the chemicals used in the drilling technique called fracking.
Now another story about a scam, but this one has a wrinkle. Athens County Sheriff Pat Kelly says an Athens County resident received a telephone call claiming to be an employee of the Athens County Sheriff's Office. The caller told the resident that he had delinquent parking tickets and that he needed to pay the tickets. The resident knew he didn't have outstanding tickets and questioned the caller. The resident says his caller ID listed the Sheriff's Office phone number. The caller was using an application called Spoof.
Basically what it is you can make a phone call to a residence, put another person's number in, and it'll show up on caller ID as being that agency. These calls did not come from my office. What happened is the person told the person, they said, "Who is this?" And he said to them, "Well, you're just too stupid to understand," and he hung up. Obviously, my office nor any law enforcement agency in our county would make those kind of remarks to a person.
Kelly says the concern is that the application can be used to demand money, disrupt public services, and fictitiously make death notifications. This is not the first time a spoof call has been reported.
Well, Old Man Winter finally gave snow fans something to cheer about today and made Punxsutawney Phil look good in the process. The groundhog said we'd get more winter, and here it is, some actual accumulation, the first of the season. WOUB's Oliver Mattis went out to see how residents are coping.
Snowdrops keep falling on my head.
It's gonna be cold, it's gonna be gray, but it's not going to last forever. So forget about Bill Murray and the movie Groundhog Day. Still, it did get nippy, and that means more business at the coffee shop.
I'm a coffee hustler. There you go. People come in, get a great cup of nice warm chai or nice hot chocolate. Go crazy for it on days like this. It's great.
But coffee is not the only lifeblood for people.
I drink a lot of tea and eat chicken soup.
But despite the cold, the people seem to enjoy the white snow.
It's nice. It's just so much prettier. It makes Athens so much prettier. So.
This has been a weird, warm, slushy winter, and finally getting some prettiness around campus.
But what does snow feel like for students who come from countries where it doesn't snow?
I've been here for a couple of years, so I'm used to it now, but at first it was hard. Just going through such harsh weather.
It's pretty until it goes in my eyes and up my nose.
But some people are unfazed by the dropping thermometer.
Well, if you walk with me for 24 hours, you'll find I'm very seldom cold. My blood pressure rises each and every day, so it's not difficult for me to keep my internal heat up.
For WOUB News, I'm Oliver Mattis.
From the Newswatch Weather Center, I'm Trevor Cole. And if you believe it or not, that snow we had today was about the biggest we've had all season, and it was only about an inch. So, I mean, that shows how this winter's been going. 34 right now in Athens, with a few flurries still around. Those are mainly pushing east of the area. Winds are to the west-northwest at 6, and the dew point's at 28, so it's getting a lot drier out there right now. Regional tracker, cool temperatures everywhere, 34 in Athens, but the cool spots, Steubenville and St. Clairsville at 30. Overnight tonight in Athens, it'll be about 32 at 9 with flurries, and things should slowly clear out, and we'll bottom out at around 22 tonight. So, send it back to the news desk.
Thanks, Trevor.
Ohio University celebrates Black History Month with many events, including a traveling museum that made a stop in Athens today. The African American Inventors and Inventions Traveling Museum highlights the improvements made to inventions that are used every day. The display also showcases inventions by African Americans, such as the Super Soaker water gun. Visitors to the museum were able to receive an education that can't be found in history books.
Put us in a category, and I have to be very honest with you. Everybody thinks that all black people can sing, dance, and play ball. I can't sing, I can't dance, I can't play ball. I can't invent anything, but I can create exhibits for people to look at, and I enjoy doing that.
The museum closes at 6 and then travels to Canton before moving on to Atlanta.
Governor John Kasich has made it clear that he believes that it's wrong that felons who do their time aren't able to work in certain professions. He says he is pushing for reform Ohio law to allow felons to do jobs such as cutting hair and driving trucks, jobs they aren't allowed to do now. Ohio sentencing laws were changed last year to keep more nonviolent offenders out of prison to reduce the chance of them picking up bad habits.
Across the border, the West Virginia Senate has unanimously passed 2 bills that would offer more protection for children and adult victims of domestic violence or sexual abuse. One of the measures would expand the availability of protective orders to any victim of sexual violence, stalking, or harassment. The second measure would make it a crime to prevent anyone from calling 911. The bills now go to the House of Delegates for consideration.
An unusual photography exhibit is coming to Athens that features the famous doll, Barbie.
Coming up, we'll talk with a photographer and find out how she chose her subject. The Republicans may have a new frontrunner in the presidential primary race. Next on Newswatch.
Rick Santorum is the big winner and the big surprise after last night's votes were all tallied. Santorum won the Colorado caucus. To wrap up his three-state sweep, Karen Kaifa reports on how his wins may have altered the momentum for the Republican race.
Rick Santorum headed back to the heartland, and they made him a winner.
I don't stand here to claim to be the conservative alternative to Mitt Romney. I stand here to be the conservative alternative to Barack Obama.
Santorum posted victories in Missouri and Minnesota Tuesday, states where he'd campaigned hard to prove to conservative voters especially that he's a winner. Santorum's wins perhaps stall Mitt Romney's recent surge.
Senator Santorum, wish him the very best. We'll keep on campaigning down the road, but I expect to become our nominee with your help.
Colorado, Minnesota, and Missouri, all three states potentially key to November's general election. The high point of Ron Paul's evening was a second-place finish in Minnesota. He promised supporters there's more to come.
And we do have to remember, you know, the straw vote is one thing, but then there's one other thing called delegates. Yeah!
Newt Gingrich was not on the ballot in Missouri, not really competitive in the other two states, but still looking forward in Ohio, which votes on Super Tuesday, March 6th.
You know, if you have Romney care and Obamacare and they're about this far apart, how do you debate? I mean, what's the debate over? On the other hand, if you have a genuine conservative and you have Obamacare, now you have a debate.
Maine wraps up a week-long caucus Saturday, and the next contests take place in Arizona and Michigan on February 28th, meaning the candidates get a break from primaries, but likely not from campaigning. In Washington, I'm Karen Kaifa.
The U.S. says it's still committed to solving the crisis in Syria diplomatically, but senior Obama administration officials say the Pentagon has now started an internal review of U.S. military capabilities in the region. There have been talks about whether a Libyan-style air campaign would work in Syria. The former NATO Supreme Allied Commander says dealing with Syria will be a whole different ballgame.
First of all, Syria is much different than Libya. You have to understand that. It's much more populated. There was a lot of desert in Libya, wide open spaces. There's a huge population in Syria. They have better defenses. They have better air defense systems. They have more and modern tanks. So it's going to take a much different sort of strategy than what occurred in Libya.
Actresses and models often have a negative effect on the women who see them. Even the dolls young girls play with can contribute to low self-esteem. One Athens area photographer is using a famous doll to improve female body image. Her exhibit is called Barbie Falls on Hard Times. Right now we're joined by Carrie Gunter Seymour, who joins us in our studio. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, well, thank you for having me.
So you have a couple of events coming up on Friday. What do you hope people learn from seeing your exhibit?
I don't know if I want them to learn anything, but I want them to have, first of all, a really great time. I want them to be able to laugh and to realize that even the most perfect woman in the world who my generation doted on Barbie can fall on really hard times. And we don't have to be perfect like that, because she's not.
All right, well, let's take a look at a few of the photographs that you've helped us, that you've provided us. Explain what was your thinking behind this one.
Okay, well, first and foremost, I want to do good photography, so I think about light and I think about perspective, but I also try to create these environments that seem real. So Barbie's sitting in these real-life environments, and in this particular one, I think she's woken up to, really freaking out, you know? So maybe she's got premenstrual syndrome or something like that.
All right, let's take a look at the next one.
I think this is the ultimate Barbie got dumped. She's been thrown in the trash man, out with the breakfast food, and the worst thing is she doesn't even get to have her pretty clothes on. She's like buck naked. So ultimate dumping there.
All right, let's take a look at another one.
This is one of my favorites. I call this one, I usually don't title them, but this one's called God Save the Queen. And really what it does represent is we all get into situations where we do things we know we shouldn't. Barbie's had a little bit too much to drink here. But she's also trying to preserve her dignity, because look at her holding on to that tiara, man. That is all about her dignity.
All right, and we have one more.
Right. Oh, well, the kitchen. We all struggle with the kitchen. And poor Barbie, look at that. She's in tears because she's, trying to make cookies, and there she is. Look what's happened. Out of control.
What made you decide to use Barbie versus other symbols that we have in our society?
I grew up with Barbie. Barbie and I are about the same age. Barbie's about to have a birthday. And I realized I was kind of a chubby kid, an adolescent and a teen, and I realized only as I got older that that sort of representation of women was really difficult for me and lots of other women, especially of my generation. And we did a lot of binge dieting and all these crazy things to try to look like Barbie. And, you know, I'm short. I'm never going to look like Barbie. So I thought this was a really good way to kind of have a silent, or not a silent, but a low-key protest directed at what our culture puts on women. And I know we've done this to death and we've heard it, but you know what? We're not doing anything about it. It's still here. We're still making women feel like they're ugly because they are actually adequate weight and adequate height.
All right. Well, you have, like I said, a few events coming up on Friday. You have a reception and a poetry reading. They will begin at 4 p.m. In the Women's Center in Baker University Center.
Yep, that's fourth floor.
Yep. Ms. Gunter Seymour, thank you so much for being with us.
Thanks for having me, and for having Barbie too.
Stocks closed higher today as Greece appears to be closer to making a deal to prevent it from defaulting on debt.
Well, the light snow ended this morning, but a cold blast is on the way for the weekend, and storminess is back in the picture for next week. Find out when we return from the break. Well, the light snow is exiting the area right now, and we're sitting at 34 degrees in the Athens area. Winds are out of the west-northwest at 6 miles per hour, and the dew point's at 28 degrees. Let's take a look at some regional temperatures right now. You can see that Athens is at 34 degrees, and Parkersburg's registering the same thing. And let's jump right now, actually, into the current surface map. And first, you'll see there's a lot of information on here. What I really wanted to point out, though, was there's that trough that passed through this morning that gave us the snow. It's actually going to be meeting up with this low right down there, and that's where they're going to get the real snow, just to our east. So we kind of avoided that one. So let's take a look at the precip tracker for tonight, and you can see there's that system. It's starting to slide out, and then the snow shower is ending where we are right now. And then for the regional tracker for tonight, you can see Athens is going to be at 22 degrees, and 24 in Parkersburg, and 26 in Ripley. And then let's look at the precip tracker for tomorrow, and you can see there's an area of high pressure that's settling in, which is really going to help bring in some nicer weather and melt off whatever snow is still around. And then here's the regional tracker for tomorrow. I'm sure you guys are going to like to see that picture. 39 in Athens, sunny across the board. And then let's jump into this weekend. I want to talk about this real quick. I hate to bring bad news, but there is bad news. This big cold front right there is going to just shove right to the south of us, and this big high pressure is going to settle in and give us a very strong push of cold air. Thinking 20s for highs on Saturday, which is above normal for this time of year. For tonight in Athens, flurries early with a low of 22. Skies slowly clearing, mainly towards the morning hours. It's going to be a slow clearing process. Calm winds. And then for tomorrow is going to be 39 degrees with clearing skies, seasonable temperatures. Very nice day out there. There's a slight flurry chance to the southeast of the area. Winds will switch to the west at 5 to 10. And then for the 7-day forecast, every time I do this, it's a very, very busy 7-day forecast. And you can see that cold push that's coming in for Saturday is going to bring another chance of snow. This time we could see just a little bit more with 1 to 2 inches. And then that Friday system, that's going to be late in the evening. Most of Friday will be okay. And then look at the rest of the forecast mix for Tuesday and Wednesday. Those two storms, I'm having a bit of difficulty. The models are really disagreeing on what's going to happen, but those need to be watched really carefully because that's kind of up in the air right now.
Yeah, what a roller coaster.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, this winter has been really, really something else. I can't even believe it.
Yeah, I can't believe that our biggest accumulating snow today was 1 inch, and that's all we've seen. I mean, that's very abnormal. But
yeah, maybe we'll see some more soon.
I hope so. I'm a snow junkie.
And you wouldn't know by looking out the window this morning, Kaylee, but spring sports around the corner.
Yeah, that's right. Softball starts up this weekend, baseball next weekend, but you know, they're heading south. They're avoiding this warm weather. It really is hard to believe that the chilly weather will bring the spring sports, but Ohio softball will yet, like I said, kick off this weekend. But earlier in the week, their MAC preseason poll came out. We'll see how they ended up. Plus, we'll have a full slate of everything that happened in high school hardwood action. Next on Newswatch. TVC Hawking matchup last night in Stewart, and it was the home team that came out victorious. Federal Hawking took down Waterford 61-49, thanks to the help of Sean Parsons and his 22 points on the night. Parsons was not the only Lancer contributing to the team's 8th conference win. Austin Russell had 13 points and 5 boards. It also wasn't just the starters getting it done. Off the bench, Max Carney had 9 points and 3 rebounds, and Delbert Crum added 12 points and pulled down 3 boards. Fed Hawk led 27-19 at halftime, holding Waterford to only 4 field goals in the first half. Chris Taylor caused problems down low for the Wildcats and had 6 rebounds on the night. Austin Shriver had 20 points for Waterford, but the Wildcats' efforts were not enough to slow down the Lancers.
Well, we transitioned well. I think our 2-3 defense played well. Like I said, you kept the three-point shot out. They had to force it inside. I think our guys did a good job rebounding and getting back on defense and preventing them from transitioning.
Fed Hawk and Waterford weren't the only Hawking teams in action last night. Southern got a big win over Trimble, 75-35. Belpre hosted Wahama and earned a close one over the White Falcons, 56-53. Miller fell just short when the Falcons traveled to Eastern and lost 45-44. With the win, Southern improves to 11-3 in the conference and sits at the 2 spot in the conference behind Belpre. The Golden Eagles are perched on top of the Hawking at 11-1. Miller is 2-9 in conference play, and Eastern is 3-10. Now we'll shift over to the TVC Ohio side, which had a full slate of high school hoops action as well. Athens played without freshman Ryan Lerman and fell to the Marietta Tigers 55-37. The Vinton County Vikings snapped a 2-game losing streak to the Ironmen with a 58-53 win over Jackson. An 11-2 run helped secure that W for the Vikings. Nelsonville York traveled to River Valley and earned its 11th victory of the year with a 57-45 win. So to wrap up conference play out of the night for the TVC Ohio, Wellston got a 66-43 win over Zane Trace. Now to college hoops. Ohio men's basketball wraps up its cross-division play with a road trip. The journey kicks off tonight when the Bobcats visit Toledo. The Cats will try to win their 7th game in a row against the 10-13 Rockets, who currently hold a 2-7 record in conference play. Ohio has been successful against MAC West opponents so far this season. The Bobcats have defeated Western Michigan, Ball State, Northern Illinois, and Central Michigan as part of their 6-game winning streak. Toledo is led by sophomore guard Rion Pearson, who has averaged just over 27 points per game this season and a little over 19 points per game in league play. With conference play heading into the final stretch for the 2011-2012 season, here's a look at the MAC basketball standings on the men's side. Akron sits atop the East with Ohio right behind them at 7-2. Over to the west is Eastern Michigan on top at 5-4, and Ball State is right behind them with the Broncos at 4-5. Now we got to check out the ladies of the MAC as well. The women's team don't play this week. They have off until Saturday, but currently leading the East right now is Bowling Green with a perfect 10-0 conference record. Ohio currently holds the 5th spot in the East. Leading on the west side is Eastern Michigan. The Eagles are 8-2 in league play. Well, with basketball season just heating up and conference tournaments right around the corner, it's hard to believe spring sports are on the horizon as well. Ohio softball kicks off its season this Friday in a tournament against St. Bonaventure, but first it's time to see how the team fared in the MAC preseason conference picks. The Bobcats, who were the MAC East champs last year, took the 3rd spot in the East below Miami and Kent State. Miami received 10 first-place votes in the preseason poll. Western Michigan, on the west side, earned 9 first-place votes and holds the top spot in the West, followed by Ball State and Northern Illinois. Dwayne Wade led all scorers with 26 points and helped the Miami Heat earn a 107-91 victory over the Cleveland Cavaliers last night. LeBron James had 24 points, 5 rebounds, and 6 assists. Cleveland was within 4 points midway through the 4th quarter, but the Heat pulled off a 14-4 run to come away with the win. Forward Antoine Jameson had 25 points for the Cavs. The game was Cleveland's 2nd straight opponent against an opponent from last year's NBA Finals. The Cavs were coming off an upset over Dallas on Saturday, but couldn't hold off Miami's late surge. So like we said, usually there's always this transition period between fall, winter, now winter to spring, so it's exciting.
That's right. And let's hope those Cavs can beat the Clippers tonight.
Yes.
And stay tuned tonight on WOUB.
Here's a look at what's coming up on your public television station. A research base in Antarctica is one of the coldest places on Earth, and researchers there are analyzing ice cores, which they believe could contain new forms of life. The weather conditions make their work difficult, especially when it gets to the point where it's too cold for planes to fly.
The ice cores have pockets of air that were preserved over 400,000 years ago, but the researchers need to be careful just in case the organisms they find in the ice are harmful to humans. Once they finish the drilling, they just have to wait and see what they find in samples.
All right, Trevor, let's get a final look at our weather.
Alrighty then, we're at 34 right now, just above freezing, and we got some snow showers that are exiting the area right now. But for tonight, flurries early, skies slowly clearing. We're going to drop down to 22 for a low. And then for the extended outlook, you can see there's plenty to talk about. Almost hard to get through it here. We got a wintry mix coming in Friday late towards dark. Snow extending through the first part of Saturday, maybe an inch or two. Some models are, juicing it up a little bit more, giving us a couple or a few inches. I'm going to keep an eye on that. And then the cold air just settles in for the weekend, and we begin to warm up for next week before we watch a couple other systems that could give us wintry weather. So, I mean, it looks like maybe things are turning around a little bit.
Yeah, that's true. but an ugly-looking Saturday is on
Absolutely,
the
yeah. Very cold.
Thanks so much, Trevor. And that does it for our broadcast on this, the 8th of February, 2012. Thanks for watching. For Trevor Cole, Kaylee Donegan, and Taylor Mirfendereski, I'm Andrew Fowler.
You can get the latest news and weather on the WOUB radio network, and you can view our program anytime online at WOUB.org. Have a great night.